Episode 35. I hate buses. There are many things that they do wrong, and there's very little things that they do right. And especially sometimes when occasionally the buses will skip out the bus stops and go a different route, that just gets me furious. Especially when I've been stood there since 6:30 in the morning in the cold. I am not happy. Buses are never on time. See, we're in a day and age now where we're meant to look after the environment and recycle and cut down energy costs, and apparently the greenhouse effect and whatever, and stop using cars because of global warming. But tell me, how are we meant to stop using cars if public transport is so useless? You can't cycle anywhere because you either get hit by a car or it's like 20 odd miles to the nearest town. You can't walk anywhere because you'll be walking for hours and you still won't get far. In fact, that's probably worse than cycling. Taxis are just way too expensive and they break every rule in the highway code. And so you're left with buses. And I don't know if I've already told you this, but I hate buses. Now, something beyond my knowledge, which is obviously quite logical to the bus driver, allows them to read the newspaper and forget they're actually driving a bus. They forget where we were going, they forget that they've got people on board. One day, we were going to university. Now, somehow the bright orange bus, or Bob, the bendy bus, decided that the timetable thing would get to campus on 9 o'clock on the dot. Which is backwards because that's when the lessons start and we still got a 2-minute walk down the lane to the actual lessons. But the bus driver decides, no, these students don't start at 9 o'clock, that's stupid. I'm going to stop at this roundabout and read my newspaper. Okay. So not only were we already 15 minutes behind, we might have actually got to lessons on time, would you believe it? But no, he decides to read his newspaper. Now we're all sat there thinking, what on earth is he doing? And no one dared go and ask him. And I pressed the bell, and he decided to disable the bells. I wasn't allowed to press the bell anymore, it wasn't making a ding. The bus was too crowded for me to get up and wiggle my way to the front and ask him what was going on. I don't know why I didn't shout at him, but I should have. Eventually he decides to move, and we make our way to university, and we get to lessons, and it's about 9:20. We had been sat at that roundabout for at least 20 minutes. Obviously I wasn't happy, and I went to the office, the first office in Bath, and I said to the lady, I want to book a complaint. Here's what they said. Dear Mr. Waters, thank you for taking the trouble to visit our inquiry office to voice your concern that the driver of service 418 waited too long at the roundabout on the 18th November, whilst on the way to Bath University at 9 o'clock approximately. The driver of our bendy buses have standing instructions to wait at the Globe until the buses already there exits the driveway, as it is impossible for two buses to pass each other within the narrow confines of the roadway. The driver who sat reading his newspaper was merely waiting for his colleague to leave the driveway. The driver also had to wait their time out at certain stops. They are not permitted to run early under any circumstances, and sometimes where the traffic is light they may wait a couple of minutes at their timing points. I have looked at the drivers running the times and I can assure you that he operates exactly to the timetable. Yours sincerely, Jill Reeves. As you can imagine, when I first read that letter, I was extremely furious. The driver was merely waiting for his colleague to leave the driveway. Now that bit I understand, because the driveway is only one lane big and obviously two buses cannot pass each other. The thing is, in the morning, the 9 o'clock buses, there are two that get to the university for meant to be 9 o'clock. There are two. They enter the driveway at the same time, so they don't have to cross each other. This driver was sat at the roundabout waiting for the other driver to go into the campus, drop the students off, read his newspaper for 5 minutes until he was on time, so then he can drive back down the driveway and out of the gate. The driveway is like 5 or 10 minutes long, so that explains why we were waiting. So it's not a reasonable explanation. He wasn't early, he was at the stop before we needed to be at university. It was the next bus stop. He could have dropped us off early. Basically, don't get the bus. The buses, if no one got the bus company would go bankrupt. The government would buy them back. And if the government bought them back, they'd be nationally owned and then they'd run on time.